Our question here is going to be, is Marcus Semien the X factor to really make this Rangers lineup go? So a few things. First of all, I already saw somebody text in that they think Marcus Semien should be hitting more like fifth as opposed to first. I hear you, but we think a logical, predictive lineup for the Rangers, at least against right-handed pitching, I know it can change after that to start, would be, and Mike, tell me if you think this is off base, Semien, Seager, Langford.
I'm 100% sure as long as those three are healthy, that will be your opening day first three hitters. This is where I won't say 100% anymore.
But Garcia, Peterson, Young, Berger, Carter, Heim.
I think that will be a likelihood against a right-handed starting pitcher. On opening day, Garrett Crochet will probably pitch for Boston, so I don't know exactly how hitters 4 through 9 will be trying to protect Jock Peterson and Evan Carter from a great left-handed starting pitcher.
And so Marcus Semien had a tough year last year. He had a tough year in terms of pretty much most statistical metrics, including on-base percentage. And that's obviously the primary thing you're hoping for and looking for from your leadoff hitter. So it makes sense to say, hey, we can talk about Seager, and I kind of want to talk more about Langford tomorrow, or the new additions with Peterson and Berger. But if Marcus Semien plays at the same level that he did last year, or has the same production as last year, that feels like it's going to be hard to overcome for the offense.
Yeah, and for me, this is a serious key to the first 6 weeks of the season. Simeon's going to be your leadoff hitter on opening day. I believe Seager and Langford will follow as long as those three are healthy. But I think the Rangers have other options as a leadoff hitter. And I get you stick with Semien to start the year. But if he hits 237 with a 308 on base percentage and a 699 OPS, and we're to May 10th, okay, you're starting on March 27th. I'll give it till May 10th. But if those are his numbers, not saying he can't improve on those numbers as the season goes, but now you're going, wait a second, you played 159 games last year, and you're putting up the similar numbers. I know I'm giving exact same, but you're putting up similar numbers to last year. I can't have you be my leadoff hitter anymore. And I have to make an adjustment. And I do think Langford in today's game is a perfect leadoff hitter. Think of Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts. There's so many other guys. You know, you think of leadoff hitters now. Langford has a possibility of being a 30-30 guy.
Okay.
And he has the ability, I think, to bat in the high 200s, at least, let's say, 260 to 280.
Yeah.
And
which is pretty good now.
You look at Marcus Semien the year before when you won it all. He had 276. He had an 820.
Wait.
Oh,
sorry. Let me hold that thought for just 1 second because I want to talk about Wyatt Langford and then go back to Semien. Would you simply just swap their places in the lineup?
No.
Okay. Then where would Semien go?
If he's hitting 230-ish with under a 700 OPS, I got to move him to 5th or 6th.
Okay.
I can't have my 3-hole hitter doing that.
For sure.
So this is where Marcus Semien, if he does not perform well to begin the season and not 3 series, it's just not fair to be like, oh, they played 10 games. Let's make a major adjustment in the lineup. Let's play 30 games before we start making a possible major adjustment, because here's the issue. I can't just switch him. I don't want – if Marcus Semien's doing that, and I love Marcus Semien, I don't think he is. But if he does, if he's a 230 hitter with an under 700 OPS, I can't have him as one of my first 3 hitters. No way. We're talking about the offense yesterday and how it could be a top 5 offense rated 7th. Well, if my leadoff hitter is batting 230 with a 700 OPS, I do not have a top offense in Major League Baseball. I think it would be impossible to have a top offense in baseball.
So here's a potentially good number then. So Marcus Semien ranks 62nd in the top 100 players. But one of the notes is he traditionally, and I realize as you get older, this becomes more difficult, but he's traditionally bounced back from tougher seasons. Like you look at his OPS plus in 2020, it was only 89. The next year, 131 with Toronto. When he started his Rangers career, he had an OPS plus, and that just kind of compares you to like average players. It's a different, but another kind of like war type comparison. In 2022, he followed up with an OPS plus of 126. And so the last 2 times this has happened, he's kind of had difficulty in the even years. So he bounced back in 21, bounced back in 23. Will he bounce back in 25? Now, I know the biggest counter argument you could easily make is that was 2 and 4 years ago. Like, and time marches on for us all, and so it could be more difficult for him.
Yeah, and I expect him to have a good year. Don't get me wrong here, but I'm going now with the if. If we get to May 10th, May 15th, and we have a leadoff hitter getting on base about 31% of the time, I'm changing it. I can't do it anymore. Now, the thing is, I can't have my number 3-hole hitter having an OPS of 700. That doesn't make sense if I have Langford and Seager doing damage, and then my next guy can't do damage.
Yep.
So I have to move him to 5 or 6. This is where the whole thing changes. So this is where this is such a big X factor for the Rangers this year. Because if Simeon doesn't do his job as the leadoff hitter, I think I have a great replacement in Wyatt Langford. But I move him from 3 to 1. Now, what do I do? Well, who's hot? Who's hitting well?
Yeah.
Let's just say Josh Young's having a good year and he's staying healthy. I move him to 3. And now at 4, do I go Jacques Peterson? Do I stick with Adolis Garcia? Do I move, like if Adolis and Jacques are doing decent or average, do I move Simeon past those guys to kind of give him a more of a back of the lineup, clean up whatever these guys doing damage are? Because if I have a dude batting 237 with a 700 OPS, I can't have him as one of my first 4 hitters in my lineup.
How long does the switch hold? Like, let's say you do move Simeon down the lineup. Are we talking week by week, perhaps changes? Because I know you don't want to change your batting lineup all of the time, assuming that there's not somebody out or whatever. So you think it would be like, hey, let's give this a week, see what happens, and then
because now here's the tough part. Sometimes you're like, well, I want to be the leadoff hitter, and then they put you batting 5th, and then you bat 400 with a 12 OPS for that week. They're like, we're not bringing you back up to the leadoff spot. This seems to be the perfect spot for you. So that's always the tough part is if you get demoted in the lineup and then you start hitting well, then there's the conversation, is he hitting well because we've taken some pressure off of him? I don't think that would be the Semien case. That's the Evan Carter case of like, let's just say Evan Carter gets off to a really good start. He can be a leadoff hitter too. Here's my issue. Let's just say, man, I want Langford not leading off. I don't know why you wouldn't. I think that he's the prime candidate. But let's just say Evan Carter for the May 10th, he's batting 323 against right-handers with a 900 OPS. Now, against lefties, we're trying to protect him. He's not playing that much. So now I go, all right, man, against right-handed pitching, I'm going to lead Evan Carter off. I don't mind that at all. The dude can fly around the bases. And he has a high batting average, and he's hitting a lot of doubles and stuff like that. My issue is now I can't have Evan Carter and Seager batting back-to-back because in the 6th inning or the 8th inning, they bring in a stud lefty because those guys are coming up. I've just pretty much killed my inning. Yeah. I'm in big trouble. My odds of scoring here are way low. So now if I move Evan Carter to lead off, I don't think I can bat Seager second. Now I'm probably like, all right, let me put Langford in between them. I'll bat Seager third. So I have a righty in between. But now, what do I do from there if I'm going Carter, Langford, Seager? So I think this is where Marcus Semien is such a big piece because if I have to start fiddle-farting around with my leadoff spot based off of matchups, based off of different situations,
you may well.
It changes the lineup tremendously. It's not just Langford 1, Semien 3. It's not just Carter 1, Semien 8. Like that doesn't make much sense. I have to start making sense of, I'm facing a starting pitcher for approximately 5 innings in today's game, but I have 4 innings that I'm facing their bullpen. That's why batting Carter and Seager second and third in the playoffs against Houston, no problem. They don't have a left-hander to bring in. Was it? I think it was Houston. It might have been I thought Houston didn't have I can't remember what team, if it was Baltimore or Houston. They didn't have a left-handed reliever. So I never have to worry about them bringing in a left-handed reliever in this game. I can bat them back-to-back, but most teams will have 1 or 2 lefty relievers that that about later in the game. So I have to separate Carter. I have to separate Jock Peterson. Seager's solid against lefties, but I've given you that his numbers do go down quite a bit. It's just that he's still a solid hitter, just not one of the best hitters in the game. So that's where Bruce Bochi could have an issue, is if Semien struggles that first month. Now he has to start thinking about the leadoff spot, and then that changes, besides, let's say, Seager batting second, that changes my 3 through 9 hitters and how I line them up.
And somebody asked, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to double check that, because I remember that the first year, but I don't think this is entirely accurate. Isn't Simeon from the 3-2-5 known for starting slow to begin with? We might have to give him more time. That's not necessarily the case. Now, when he first got here, so in 2022, remember, we were all talking about that, like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? But in 2023 and last season, his first months were not bad whatsoever. In fact, I would probably call both of them at least solid. So I don't think he's always a slow starter.
We assume this team is going to be led by offense first, starting pitching second.
I probably do assume that.
If the offense is struggling through 30 games and your leadoff hitter is struggling to get on base, I can't wait till June 1st.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. So I have to look at it and go, I got to change this up. Now, this is where I love Bruce Bochi. Because I don't think he's just set in his ways and he's like, this is just what it's going to be. If you go look at his San Francisco team, he messed around with their lineup. It wasn't this guy bats first every time, this guy bats second, this guy bats third. I'd go back and look, but I would say the only person that probably was stable in his lineup every day was Buster Posey.
Yeah.
And he would move different guys around for different situations. So being a National League manager back when they had the pitcher hit really helps out Bochi having to mess with lineups where, let's just take, I don't know, for example, an American League manager, Joe Torre. I know he managed other teams, but Joe Torre with the Yankees, hell, he just pretty much put out these guys and never changed it. I do remember he had to change A-Rod at one point. He was struggling so much in the playoffs. There's a big conversation of dropping him in the lineup.
Right.
But I do think that the Rangers, Marcus Semien, to start this year is a key. Because if he's going well and other guys are struggling, you're not going to have to change up the lineup a lot. Let's just say Adolis Garcia gets off to a rough start. I can drop him from 4 to 6 and just move Young from 6 to 4. That's just two guys changing into the spots. But if Simeon struggles, I got to change way more than just Lankford to 1 and Semien to 3. I got to start making way more adjustments in my lineup because I'm assuming at that point I got to move Semien to batting 5th or 6th in my lineup for a little bit of time. And the thing is I do think Lankford or Carter are the future leadoff hitter for a long time.
Yeah.
I just don't know when that change will be made. Hopefully this is a great year and you don't have to worry about it. But if you have to worry about it, then the Rangers are going to have to make somewhat, I'll call it, massive lineup changes.